General Secretary, General Secretary Shyam Parande ji, Vice President Bhalla ji, and today's main speaker and presenter, Ambassador Veena Sikri ji, and Professor Smruti Pattanaik. Dear member of the executive of ARSP, members, friends, and those who have joined physically here and those who have joined online. Welcome to everybody. Today's issue is to talk about Bangladesh. I think all of us have a very serious concern, and whole India has a great concern what has happened and what is happening in Bangladesh. This month was really heavy when Sheikh Hasina was toppled, had to resign and to leave the country to India on her way to somewhere else. Number of people who have been killed, properties had been looted, and all the law and order has completely smashed, completely finished. There is no control. There are many speculations. It was happened because of the reservation of 30% to the people who has fought and the freedom war. Though Supreme Court has changed it, many people say that there were some foreign countries' hands in that one. Especially people are blaming America that he wanted St. Martin Island, and that's why it happened that she had to leave. I think when you see the Cold War also during time of 1971, America was in support of Pakistan and Russia was in support of India. So this is not very new thing. Main our concern is how to address this issue and what will be the impact on economics, trade, and relation with India. Today I was just seeing the one news that chief of the East Command has raised concern that because of situation in Bangladesh, there will be a lot of infiltration in eastern part of India. I was seeing something that in Sahin Bagh also, there are many Bangladeshi have already arrived. So all these news are coming. These are all some of the speculations also. And more important that India supported in 1971 also, you know that Niazi and Aurora, uh, Niazi surrendered to in Santi Vahine. That time also India supported information of Bangladesh. After 4 years, Bang Bandhu Mujibur Rahman was assassinated with many, more than dozen of his family members. And now, I don't know what is wrong in the policy of India, that we had a very good relation with Sheikh Hasina, but not with everybody in that country, perhaps, with the opposition leader, Jia and others. In that situation, minority, especially the Hindus, have been attacked. Their properties have been looted, burned. Many temples, like ISKCON and Kali temple, others have been burned and looted. And they are living in a very difficult, very scary situation. There are a lot of demonstrations from Canada to America to England and other countries, but there is no much. Only 2 days before I saw a woman group had some demonstration in New Delhi. There is no much statement or any voice from the opposition or political parties. And India is keeping very quiet. In that situation, Antar Rashtriya Parishad, which believes in promoting good relations with neighboring countries, either SAARC, BIMSTEC, or ASEAN countries, and in that concern, suggested us and proposed, especially by Ambassador Brent Gupta ji and Shyam Parande ji, let us invite Ambassador Veena Sikri ji and Smruti to speak and to talk about the current situation and way forward. What will happen further? How our trade, lot of energy, there are a lot of agreement into information technology, textile, energy, and there were a lot good relations were going on with India. What will be the impact and repercussions of this current situation in Bangladesh, and what we think to recommend for the government of India to do in this situation and beyond? With these few words, I think I should stop here, and I will request Ambassador Brent Gupta to take the lead and summarize the situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we proceed any further, may I request Belaji, please bring these Angavastrams, and Parandiji, can you please present to our lead speaker today, Ambassador Veena Sikri, and honor her. Yes, may I now request Markandeji to present the Angvastram to our other speaker, Professor Smruti Pattanaik. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to join Markandeji in welcoming our honored guests, very knowledgeable people about Bangladesh. Ambassador Sikri has served as India's High Commissioner in Bangladesh, very critical years, and she has a deep understanding of Bangladesh. She has continued to follow very closely the developments there. Smruti is a senior fellow at the India's largest think tank, which focuses a great deal on the neighboring countries. So I think her knowledge of Bangladesh is also impeccable, and I think we are very fortunate to have both of them with us. As Markandeji said, these developments in Bangladesh a few days ago, um, I think have caused very deep and serious concern in India. Most people had this sense of shock. But when I talk to more knowledgeable commentators, people who understand, who've been following situation in Bangladesh, uh, the general impression that I get is that we're not surprised that this has taken place. It is more a question of when. If it hadn't taken place now, it was going to happen sometime soon. Um, but all said and done, these developments are a matter of uh, have serious implications for India, both in terms of security interests and in terms of economic interests. Um, so I think we have to look at these issues very closely, try to understand. And for us, it's so important because Antar Rashtriya Sahayog Parishad, as all of you know, uh, focuses a great deal on the neighboring region, apart from looking at our diaspora, which is spread across the world. And we follow uh, these countries. Our primary objective is to promote cordiality and friendship at the level of people, because our stakes are so vast that it seems to me that it cannot be handled merely at the level of government to government relationship. Uh, and I think what is missing, we've often debated uh, situation in our neighboring region. There are a lot of projects. You can talk about how fast those projects are undertaken. Sometimes Indian authorities uh, rightfully have to share the blame for not undertaking these projects at the requisite pace. I think even more important than that is the lack of trust. The trust is the most important factor, and I think the trust can be built only by creating understanding at the level of people. This trust is so important, and how do you promote the trust? I think there is an underlying suspicion amongst the neighboring countries that India is trying to dominate them, or in the very least overwhelm them. So any impression uh, they get causes concern, sensitivity in these countries. I think the most populous thing uh, in the neighboring countries is to rise up on a platform, public platform, and start abusing India. And I think that will make sure that you become a very popular leader. And not many people in the neighboring countries have the courage to stand up with India. I think Sheikh Hasina was probably uh, a solitary example in a sense. Now, that also brings certain issues that do we stand with her or do we abandon her? If the question were to be raised about if Bangladesh authorities, the new authorities there were to ask for extradition, uh, should we send her back? Should we grant her asylum or should we allow her to stay? I mean, these are issues that will have to be. The other thing that seems to me is that the situation is very fluid. Uh, Nobody knows what exactly happened and how exactly did it happen. There are a lot of conjectures, speculations. What is the role of the army? Nobody knows. Uh, on the one hand, one can say that army chief facilitated the safe exit of Sheikh Hasina, which was also a question mark. On the other, I've read reports suggesting that uh, army was part of a group which was conniving to get Hasina, toppled. What is the role of America, and what are the motives? I think everything has to be seen. Like you do a crime thriller, then before you start accusing America or any other country, look at what are the motives. So I think these so many questions in our mind, um, and it is so important. This issue is extremely important. Uh, And I think I will stop here. We'll let the experts talk. So may I request Ambassador Veena Sikri at this stage to please make some opening presentations. We are only members from the ARSP. We thought, so this is not a debate. We're just trying to understand what has happened in Bangladesh and how does it impinge on these developments on India's interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, yes, it's all right. Yeah. Ambassador Virendra Gupta, Shyam Prandiji, Dr. Markandeya Rai, Smruti, dear friends, thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak today. The last week has been exceedingly busy. The last 3 weeks, I would say, have been exceedingly busy. Okay, I can tell. Yeah. Okay, the last 2-3 weeks have been exceedingly busy talking about Bangladesh, but also trying to understand what has happened. And in addition to putting together what has come in the media, a lot of my information has come directly from inside Bangladesh, from various friends, from people from different communities, from the Hindu community, from the other communities, who are also equally puzzled and worried by what is going on. So let us see, in the first place, I think we need to understand what happened. That is the first thing that we need to understand. And I think here we need to understand and appreciate that this is no students' revolution. This is not a students' revolution. Let us first appreciate and understand that. The students may have played some role in it, but it is not a students' revolution. And the reason I say this is because the students themselves, first of all, we have to understand the structure of the students. This students group that they call the Students Against Discrimination, this group, it is a amorphous group. It's not a united hierarchical structure that there's a structure hota hai, there's a president, vice president, etc. It's not a structure like that. It is a very amorphous structure where you have university student groups from different universities and they have coordinators. So actually the work is among coordinators, they talk among the coordinators. There may be 50, 60, 70 coordinators. Some of them play a more central role than others. Some are in Dhaka, many are in Dhaka, some are outside. And to show you that, to give you an example, just yesterday the news came that the Chittagong group of the students against discrimination, they have resigned. And they have resigned because they said that the Dhaka people are not keeping us informed. So obviously, this is not a united students group at all. That is one reason I'm saying. The second reason I say very clearly is that the students have actually been on the same wavelength as Sheikh Hasina. Students अवामी लीग के हिस्ट्री में एक बहुत अहम रोल निभाती हैं. Right from 1971, the students have played a very key role in the struggle for liberation in 1971. And they are, very dynamic, as you know, students, and then Bengali students, you can understand they're very volatile and dynamic, opinion makers, opinion leaders. And in 1971, on 25th of March, when Yahya Khan had come to Dhaka to have talks with Sheikh Mujib, because Sheikh Mujib had won the election then, but they were not allowing him to become Prime Minister of Pakistan. So the talks were going on. And ultimately the talks broke down. And Yahya Khan left Dhaka. But he told the army, the Pakistan army, to start what they call Operation Searchlight, which was a genocide attack on the Bangladeshi people. There were two immediate targets. Number one, arrest Sheikh Mujib and send him to West Pakistan. Number two, go to Dhaka University and kill the students. So the students were actually fighting the liberation war. They were on the side. This is why, because of their role in the liberation war, they had been given the 30% reservation for their children and grandchildren in the public sector undertakings and civil services. So this is what the Awami League had always considered the students as their vote bank. Now, in 2018, when Awami League, Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister, the students started demonstration saying, now we don't want this quota, and we need jobs and we want more merit-based. So we want. Sheikh Hasina in 2018 removed the quota. This was not coming. In most Indian papers, they say that Sheikh Hasina was insisting on the quota and the students wanted the quota to be removed. Actually, the fact is in 6 saal pehle, in 2018, she had removed the quota. And for 6 years, there's been no quota. In this year, in June, somebody went to the High Court in appeal saying that, this quota that was removed by Sheikh Hasina, this is wrong. Let us restore the quota. And the very filing of this case has now come under a question. That is part of a plan. It was a very well-conceived plan, using the students as a front for that. It was a very well-planned plan. So in June, the High Court, again, which judge was this, that went against the Sheikh Hasina government and, restored the quota. So he restored the quota in June and the demonstration started again. It's a demonstration. But these demonstrations were very peaceful. I saw a lot of visuals showing the demonstration. Police is standing by calmly. Demonstrations are there, very peaceful. No violence at all. For two reasons. A, they knew Sheikh Hasina is on their side. Number two, Sheikh Hasina herself said we are going to go to Supreme Court. So she said we'll file the case in Supreme Court. And some of the student groups actually supported her in that. So they were always on the same page. They were on the same wavelength. And the situation was so calm that Sheikh Hasina came to India on a bilateral visit in 3rd week of June. She went to China of July. Till 15th of July, there was not a spot of violence. No violence at all. Whatever had happened, the deposition of removal of Sheikh Hasina happened between 15th of July and 5th of August. These 20 days, ones that shook the nation or shook the world or shook South Asia, but this is what it was. So now, what happened? Why 15 July? When she came back from China, she normally had the press conference when she comes back from any foreign trip. And she was talking, there were questions about the students' quota. And she explained the whole thing and said, yes, we have gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court the hearing was fixed for 7th of August and so on. And she said that it's very normal. It'll happen. Don't worry about it. And she said, in any case, we had given reservations, children of freedom fighters. Of course, we will give them. They're the children of people who formed our nation. We will not give it to children of Razakars. So this use of word Razakar was totally deliberately misunderstood. And that very night, in the hostels, on 14th night, in the hostels, the students, some of the group members turned up with weapons. Who gave them weapons? Where they suddenly appeared from? Okay. So when they came up with weapons, the Chhatra League of the Awami, student wing of the Awami League called Chhatra League, Bangladesh Chhatra League, they also came, because they are another volatile, very violent and rambunctious group. So they came in, and the clash between these two started, between the students, and there were some killings. On 17th of July, Sheikh Hasina came on television, appealed to the nation, saying we are going to have a judicial inquiry into the students who died. Please restore the calm. I have asked the Supreme Court to prepone the hearing and the judgment. It will happen on 21st of July. Only a few days are left, 4 more days. Please be calm. No calm returned, because by that time, the students wing of the Islami Chhatra Shibir, they had overtaken. They had come into the street. They had completely taken control of the situation. From that moment on, it was Islami Chhatra Shibir, Jamaat-e-Islami driven clash. And control of the street stayed with the with the Islami Chhatra Shibir, till the very end. And they were, of course, joined in this by the BNP students wing. So really speaking, I would say that we have to look for the role of the Jamaat-e-Islami in everything. And the violence did not stop at all. The army was called in. They were shoot at sight order. And it just kept getting worse and worse. But just to show you that the students were not the main involvement, even at this stage in the violence. About a week or 10 days after the violence had started, Daily Star published a report saying that up to now 204 people have died. And of these 204 people, only 53 were students. The remaining were actually political fights. There were some policemen, some bystanders, security forces, but only 53 students. So this shows that right from the beginning, it was not the violence when it started. They were not the main actors. The students were not the main actors in the violence. They were this, and I think it was entirely an Islamic Chhatra Shibir driven violence. Now, when this violence was growing stronger and stronger, two things happened. In my view, I would describe what happened as a Jamaat-e-Islami driven military coup against Sheikh Hasina, which had the support of, I would say, two key countries and maybe a third, but Pakistan was the immediate conduit of the whole event. They were the ones who were the conduit. So Jamaat-e-Islami has always been in direct touch with Pakistan, and they have always had their contacts to them. The USA was very much a supporter, and the very fact that Mohammed Yunus has become the chief advisor, because he's very close to US. He's been there, and this identical situation was repeated in 2007. In 2007, only difference is now the immediate previous prime minister was Sheikh Hasina. In 2007, it was Khaleda Zia. And in 2007, when there was, hangama on the streets, then there was army-backed caretaker government, and Yunus was invited to be the chief. He tried to create a political party. He failed. After 3 months, he gave up. So now he has finally come in there. Now, what happened actually that when the Jamaat-e-Islami wing within the army, they told the chief that no, we're not going to allow any more shooting on the students, and we are going to ask Sheikh Hasina to resign. It became a one-point agenda. Sheikh Hasina should resign. Even on 25th July, when the Supreme Court judgment came, it was in favor of what the students wanted. Actually, their demands had been met on 21st of July. Because the Supreme Court said that we are going to reduce the reservation to 5% for freedom fighter children, 2% the categories, 7% and all, 93% will be on merit. And this is exactly what the students had wanted, because they had said always quota reform. They never asked for quota abolition. They always said quota reform. So, and in fact, at that time on 21st of July, some student groups even stopped their protest. They gave a moratorium on their protest. They had to say, we have a list of demands. We are willing to talk to the government about the demands. We're not going to protest. By the time, the Jamaat-e-Islami had taken over the streets, the violence was at an all-time high. And, a lot of people were dying. And when the army told Sheikh Hasina that now you have to go, she said, no, I want to give a speech. Nothing, she went. Now, the point is that even the army, after saying this and saying that interim government will be headed by Mohammed Yunus, they have taken now a backseat. They're very quiet. They've said nothing, actually, on anything, because they've been told always that if you interfere directly, your participation in peacekeeping operations will be affected. And that for them is very valuable. It's a very lucrative operation to participate in UN peacekeeping operations. So they have been keeping very quiet. So what has been happening? What is the situation from 5th of August, from the day she left up to now? There is complete mayhem in Bangladesh, even till today. They keep on saying that things are better. But even as of today morning, the phone calls I got, the people who I'm in touch with, there is complete, absolute mayhem. Nobody knows who is in control. It seems to me very difficult to think that Mohammed Yunus is controlling the situation, because really speaking, he is not controlling the situation. The students groups, they are trying to say that it is all, we are doing everything, but they are not doing everything. Even the list of the interim government, who is in the interim government, who is not, they are saying, for example, that the interim government is an apolitical body. It has always had been. They've had caretaker government before, but that time caretaker government was a provision included in the constitution of Bangladesh. And that was the system they had evolved, that the election hone wala hai, 3 months before that, the government will step down, there will be caretaker government, etc. Apolitical caretaker government, no major decisions, etc. So the interim government is supposed to be apolitical. But in this interim government, you only find one glaring exception, and that is an Islamist leader. And that is, his name is Khalid Hussain. He is the head of the Hifazat-e-Islam, and he's advisor to Islami Andolan Bangladesh. He's an Islamist. He is the one who, the Hifazat-e-Islam, as of today, they have asked for Sharia law in Bangladesh. Aaj ki khabar ye hai. They have asked for Sharia law in Bangladesh. And this Hifazat-e-Islam chief is in the interim government. This Hifazat-e-Islam is the one who, people say that Hifazat-e-Islam was made by Sheikh Hasina time. No. Hifazat-e-Islam was formed in 2010 when Sheikh Hasina had just become Prime Minister, to prevent her from taking progressive steps. And the first thing they did was to oppose Sheikh Hasina, who had wanted a very liberal women's development policy. She had wanted to have a progressive role for women and giving them all kinds of facilities. So she had adopted a women's development policy. But the Hifazat-e-Islam did not let it be adopted or implemented or anything like that. And although Sheikh Hasina tried to make up with them, she tried to be friends with them, she even gave them a lot of concessions, I must tell you, quite unnecessarily. You know, for example, she recognized the degree of the Qawmi Madrasa as equal to the secular degrees. So all that she did, but they didn't. There was a coup in the Hifazat-e-Islam. The liberal people who were talking to her were thrown out. There's now a hardliner pro-Pakistan leadership in Hifazat-e-Islam. And this Hifazat-e-Islam is the one who, in 2021, when our Prime Minister went to Dhaka, on the occasion of the Golden Jubilee of Liberation War, this Hifazat-e-Islam organized riots, burnings, killings, or protesting against Prime Minister Modi going there. So they are now in the interim government. And what kind of control they will have, what kind of role they're going to play, I think we're going to know, because today the demand has come for a Sharia government, Sharia law in Bangladesh. In Dhaka, you can say maybe the situation looks calm, but outside it is complete mayhem. The Hindus and other minorities have been absolutely discriminated against. There've been a lot of killings. They've been forced to go. But I think because of course, our Prime Minister mentioned it very strongly in his message, which was a very good thing. Message from Red Fort, message to Mohammed Yunus. Mohammed Yunus called him and said, yes, we will look after the minorities. But there is absolutely no control. And they're not even willing to admit that the minorities are happening. Today, there's a campaign in Bangladesh saying this is all made up by India. You know, the Indian press is so anti-Bangladesh, they're making up the story. There's no such thing as violence against. BBC is busy doing a fact check and declaring everything as fake news. So, you know, there's a whole international campaign on this. New York Times called it revenge attacks. You know, this is because they are Awami League. So there's a whole international campaign trying to minimize the role, the attack, because nobody wants to say anything to Jamaat-e-Islami. The Americans have always considered Jamaat-e-Islami a moderate Islamic party, democratic Islamic, always. Even when I was there, Smriti knows this very well also, because she's also been very close to Jamaat-e-Islami in her own way, following them very closely. So I'm interested to hear what Smriti will say. So this is a big worrisome situation. As of today, the latest news from the Hindu minorities is that they are being forced to resign from all their jobs, beginning from Upazilas to Joint Secretary and Secretary. They're being forced to resign and give up. And of course, again, people are saying that, oh, this is because they have Awami League. So, everything is being blamed on Sheikh Hasina, and the situation is so volatile. Elections are not being talked about at all. I mean, the Americans themselves are saying no elections for 3 years. So you're looking at a situation where you oppose Sheikh Hasina on the grounds of lack of democracy, lack of free and fair elections, lack of participation in the election, and now you're doing exactly the same thing yourself. And there have been so many murder cases filed against Sheikh Hasina. And that is why the demand is coming for the extradition. And not only that, it is so confusing that the story as of today is that, there's a squabble about who will file which murder case. So against this person who died, one of the Abu Said, I think his name is, the first student who died, there is at least about 4 or 5 different cases have been filed. And in that, they're saying that in some of the cases, Sheikh Hasina had mentioned as the murderer. In others, the main police officer who was on charge, who probably did the actual firing, his name has been left out. So there's all kinds of pulls and pushes and all kinds of, and the entire cabinet of Sheikh Hasina has been declared as murderer. Some of them have been arrested, some are free, but it's really, yeah, it's just an absolute complete chaos. It really is illustrative of the fact that in Bangladesh, democracy hasn't taken roots at all. They tried. They have the coverings of democracy. They have a election commission. They have judiciary. They have a lot of institutions for democracy. But at the drop of a hat, now with this, they're not respecting democracy, democratic practices at all, and they're not interested in doing that. They're not even interested in doing that. They don't want to show that they're being democratic. This first election, we'll have a banking commission reform. They're busy changing the boards of the banks, and they're busy changing the. But I think the main problem in Bangladesh is going to be that this is going to be really compounded into a very serious financial and economic crisis. So this political crisis is there, the socio-political crisis is there. It's not going to go away anytime soon. But the financial crisis is very serious. Even for the elections, even then there was a huge furor about the economic conditions in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh economy is in a bad way. Banks have been looted right, left, and center. Today there was a story saying that one particular group must have been a pro-Sheikh Hasina group, but anyway, but the biggest group in Bangladesh has taken loans from 6 banks of 95,000 crores. I mean, it's like astronomical figures. So, and of course, there's no intention to pay them back. So the banks are in a very poor condition. And where is the financing going to come from? I don't think China is willing to help at all. China clearly knew what was going on. This is an important point also to know when you think that it's a pre-planned crisis. China knew about it because in July, when she went to China, second week of July, she was treated so badly by the Chinese government. She was insulted, no respect, no protocol, no meeting with Xi Jinping, no financial assistance promised, although they were thinking they'll get 5 billion. I think they got a few 100 million or something. So it's very deliberate. It's very unlike China to do it because normally China, when they invite somebody to their home, they don't do this. They are very conscious of being good hosts. But all this was obviously showing that by that time, China had decided they're going to wipe the hands of Sheikh Hasina and they're not going to have anything to do with her. Obviously, maybe, she had come to India before going there. They wanted her to go to China first. Then this TISA project, they wanted the project to go to China, but, Sheikh said, no, this is a bilateral river between India and Bangladesh. The project should go to India. So all those things, whatever it is, they were completely, it was clear they were in the know. And I think that it was that factor which made me very aware that something is going to happen because Chinese behaving like this and so bad that she was forced to leave a day earlier and come back because she was so badly infected. I knew that something was in the pipeline, which was known very later. So I think I've given a broad picture. Let me very quickly say, because my 15 minutes is over, about India's position. What can we do now? And how do we assess the situation? Because in bilateral relations, despite doing everything, assuming that government will know, I'm sure the intelligence services, everything is there and they know. But in bilateral relations, you have to take certain positions and you have to deal with the government in power. And this is the most surprising point that I say. There are many people in India who keep on saying, oh, forget Sheikh Hasina, push her out. Even before the election, like people say, push her out. Why are we so dependent on Sheikh Hasina? I mean, come on, we are pro Sheikh Hasina, dump her, putting all your eggs in one basket. All these things are being said all the time. The point is, she was the elected prime minister of the country. I mean, when you have an elected prime minister, you have to deal with her. If you have or dealing with a person who is willing to, number one, solve your security interests. That is the prime thing that Sheikh Hasina had done for India. And I know because I was there when Khalda Zia was the prime minister, and I know what security issues we had with the government. And then it was very serious, very existential. Northeast, insurgent groups, everything, Chittagong Harms Hall, everything. So He was the one who said, no, we're not going to have any of this because it's not good for Bangladesh. She didn't say that I'm helping India. She said, not good for Bangladesh. Why do we want foreign insurgents on our soil? Forget it, let them go. So it is that A, India was dealing with the prime minister was elected. B, she was solving all our problems for us. So why not? Why you have to count her as a good friend? So now that she's gone, we are still going to deal with the prime minister of the day, the chief advisor of the government. We were, I think, among the first countries to send a message, which is the right thing to do. And we've assured constructive engagement, we've assured cooperation. But we've said, by drawing this very important red line that, the attacks on the religious minorities have to stop. And I think this is signaling that we do have red lines. We do have red lines and we are willing to talk and work with them. But they have red lines. When we say that we are willing to talk and work with them, then onus is now on them. They have to come back and say that what it is that they would like to do. For example, all the projects that were done with Sheikh Hasina, do they want them to continue? I mean, the power grid connectivity, the friendship pipeline coming from Numaligarh to north of Bangladesh, the connectivity projects going via the river, the operation, India's participation in Chittagong and Mongla port, all these SOP standard operation procedure had been agreed upon. All this had been done. So now what is going to happen to all these projects is for the government of the day in Bangladesh to say. And judging from the statements by Tawheed Hussain, who is the advisor in the government responsible for foreign affairs, he was earlier, when I was there, he was actually Deputy Consul General in Calcutta, and he used to travel all over the Northeast and make very unfriendly statements, to put it mildly. And then later on, he became Foreign Secretary when there was the caretaker government. And since then, so now he's the Foreign Affairs Advisor. He's been making a number of statements. Actually, even Mohammed Yunus had made statements saying that India's foreign policy had been wrong. Why did they support Sheikh Hasina, mistakes, and so on? It doesn't matter. We are going to deal with the government of the day with all sincerity, and we're going to hope that they will recognize India's security red lines and will carry forward the cooperation, which is for the benefit of the people. Because the election is for the benefit of the people, the trade, the business industries have to run. Their exports will start falling. I mean, even their ready-made garments will fall until the exports from India, including man-made fiber, cotton yarn, textile machinery, all these things are going there for their textile industry, and then it is exported. It's the value-added chain which gives the exports to other countries. So this is for them to realize. At the moment, it looks very, very mixed up. It is very dangerous, in fact, because, in fact, it's looking so dangerous that some people are saying, I think Sheikh Hasina is going to come back. It is too much confusion. But anyway, this is the situation at the moment. So I'll stop here and then answer questions.
Thank you very much. I think very dismal picture about continuing uncertainties, mayhem, lot of confusion, who's in command. And she's laid out a number of options for India. Without taking any more time, I think may I request Professor Smruti Pattanaik to add on what Ambassador Sikri has talked about.
Good afternoon. Thank you, ma'am. You have almost spoken everything. There is very little to speak. First, I will start with the student movement, which you were saying. Technically, it was a student movement. When you speak of Islamic Chhatra Shibir or the Chhatra Dal are students. And if you have seen this interview which Wajid has taken with Moin Khan, and he says 80%, I don't believe in that particular figure because Chhatra Dal was completely done. And they don't have the kind of guts which the Islamic Chhatra Shibir has. And in fact, in one of my discussion with the Jamaat Islami, when Hasina was taking some action, especially after the cafe attack, that point of time they told me that I was asking them, so what's happening to your student organization?
Which attack?
After the Dhaka cafe attack, a Delhi artisan attack. So that point of time, if you remember, Hasina took a lot of action and also targeted Jamaat Islam at that point of time. So when I was speaking to them, they said that no, we have asked our student organization to lie low. So after that, whenever India insisted that the BNP has to leave Jamaat, and that point of time, some of the intellectuals in Dhaka, many of them whom you know, always used to say that why India is making so much of noise about Jamaat, Jamaat is done, the Chhatra Shibir is not there. So I always used to say that, but my information says different. That has come from the Jamaat Islam itself. So obviously, it was, in a sense, expected that these people will come in this way. Second is that, like for example, if one looks at the history, 1972, after the banning of Jamaat, the manner in which they reappeared after Ziaur Rahman took over and lock, stock, barrel shows that Jamaat has always been active. They know how to survive because, after all, they are very much influenced by religion. Their network is very different. They have the Quran net. Khani, they always arrange. That is a part of the job of anybody who is a member of Jamaat Rokan, where they start from. Apart from that, obviously, you have the masjid network and all, where it's very easy for them to operate compared to other political parties. So therefore, when, as ma'am was saying, on 17th of July, after the killing of Abu Said, he became a kind of martyr because his picture was something, which will really, hit you, because a person without any gun, with a Bangladesh flag, with an open arm standing and shot dead. So that picture, in fact, captured the imagination. And in fact, when the students were given the idea that the Supreme Court will be looking into the matter, and the hearing was preponed, I think there is always a suspicion of the student regarding Hasina's relation with the judiciary. I give an example: 2013, after Abdul Qadir Molla was convicted, the victory sign he showed made the people very, very suspicious about whether Hasina is trying to bail out Abdul Qadir Molla. So this time, even first time, when the High Court gave a decision, the student thought that, this is very politically motivated kind of decision. Maybe the government want to take away the reservation, the circular which this particular government had circulated. And that actually added, as ma'am was saying, about the Rajakar thing, which they said. And what added to the fuel to the fire is also Ubaidul Qadir's statement that Chhatra Shibir is enough to set everyone right. But as he says, it's a very, very organized kind of thing, very difficult to understand, because many things will unravel. It's not yet time. Within a month, you'll see a lot of difference coming out. Probably you will know from Bangladesh itself actually what happened. Like, for example, when the student, after the Supreme Court gave a decision, the student came up with a 9-point demand, which was given to Hasina. Obviously, I would say Hasina also miscalculated in a sense. Probably she thought she was very, because of the coalition of interest she has built over the 15 years, the police, the army, the bureaucracy, the judiciary, it was a coalition of interest. If Hasina remains in power, then these are the people who will benefit from her continuation of power in very different way. Like, for example, police can arrest anybody saying that, you are from Chhatradal, you're doing this and that. And, the person gives it. So there is a complete brain system which was very functional. I really do not know how it must be distributed, but, like, for example, you can just arrest me from the road, and for my in a sense, to receive a bail, to, make myself free, I may have to pay 30,000, 40,000, depending on my financial situation. So this is a kind of network which was built. And this network completely unraveled with the student movement, as the army was asked to, come to the street and all. They did, indeed, they did around, I think, 20th of July. But they, in fact, I think on the 4th or 5th, they gave a statement, we stand by the nation. That actually gave a very real signal that, army will not, in fact, stand by the government. And so obviously there are many things which is coming out. Like, for example, this person, the former DG of BDR, Bangladesh Rifle, Jamaluddin Khan, in fact, he's the person who's opening up the BDR mutiny thing. So there is a lot of thing which is coming out, as if Hasina was involved in that mutiny, India was involved, and I think added to that, that particular book which has come out. I really do not know. Probably we need to speak to the people in the army. Was there any kind of movement? Was India intended to intervene? And as far as you know, and I know probably that is a mistake which India will never do. Why should we intervene? Let them settle it out. Like, for example, whenever any Bangladeshi tells us that it is India you benefiting from Hasina, I always tell them, you drive your government away. You build that movement. So you cannot blame India for having a relationship with, the current prime minister who is in power. And like I'm just making a kind of comparison, as I said, about Jamaat between 1972 to 77 when the ban was lifted. You also see like in 1974 when Sheikh Mujib was becoming slightly unpopular, the Army League and India became synonymous. So it's the same kind of thing is being repeated. There are vested interests projecting it in this particular manner, but as ma'am also know that Prime Minister Hasina is a person who is a very strong-headed person. It's not that you just tell her and she's going to listen. And why should she listen to India? I have not been able to understand it. She did the election on her own, whatever manner. India did not had any hand. So to say a government which has been very supportive of India's security interest to say that, you are doing this thing wrong and that thing wrong, nobody says it. So I find it very, very strange when people keep on arguing. And second thing is that, this entire debate about putting all the eggs in one basket. Ma'am was there during the BNP period. I was also there. Where was the basket available? Basket? They said no basket is available. You go wherever you want. Like for example, Brajesh Mishra's trip to Dhaka after 2001 election violence. Jaswant Sinha's trip as special emissary who went to meet Khalida Ji at that point of time. I met Brajesh Mishra, after he left as National Security Advisor. He said it very clearly that India's extended a hand of friendship, and it was Begum Khalida Jia's decision not to take that friendship. It was complete silence. They did not say anything, but it was complete silence. Second is that from 2001 to 2006, whenever India will say that there are a security problem, these people are hiding, typical like a Pakistani way, they will say, Bangladesh does not provide shelter to any other people from its soil. We don't allow that kind of thing. Typical, I sometimes felt that it is probably taken from the Pakistani statement, exactly the same statement. 2005, the entire bomb blast went off, and 2006, the entire, this delegitimization of the caretaker government was done by the BNP. Now, BNP is saying that, why it happened. Obviously, there are six options which is given in the caretaker regime. So you only choose the first option, which is the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And why did you choose the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Because you provided 2-year extension, and his retirement, I think he was supposed to retire at 63. He got a 2-year extension. And BNP government did it deliberately so that that particular person become the caretaker chief as per the constitution. So when Awami League protested, obviously they started, then the first choice, then they became the last choice. That was the president of um, Bangladesh, who was a very, very political person, has always acted politically compared to Sahabuddin Chuppu, who is the current president of Bangladesh. So, your security interest was completely undermined. Second is that the role of the army, as ma'am was saying, the kind of role they played, it's very appeared that, it was thought about probably, as an option. They could have debated. I really don't know. It appeared like that in a very, very disciplined manner, things happened. The statement came, then you saw them going to the Prime Minister's house, asking her to leave, probably to save, not to see that what happened to Mujib in August 75 happens to Hasina. That could be reason, or it could be, there's a lot of struggle. It could be the Americans would have probably said, the Indians would have said, do whatever, but no harm to Hasina. It could have happened. It's just speculation. We really do not know. But also at the same time, I have a theory. 2001 to 2006, there is a lot of recruitment that happened in Bangladesh Army. And these are ideological recruitment. Both the BNP and the Jamaat, that point of time, many people said that the Jamaat have been able to recruit many people to Bangladesh Army. They were also in the foreign service. But when I calculate, if somebody has been recruited between 2001 to 2006, must be at a very senior level at this point of time. So this entire, the week's report, which says that the junior officer, in fact, pressurized the army chief, not to take any action, but also at the same time, looking at the ground situation, it would have been impossible for the army to shoot its own people. Then things would have flared up even for us. So very quickly on, as ma'am said, completely agree. Yunus is not in control. Probably could have been, his name could have been propped up by vested interest to get him. Probably he was more acceptable than anybody else at that point of time. I also see, like, for example, I think today Daily Star or Prathamalo says 120 something statues of various people have been demolished in Bangladesh. Prathamalo report says today's. No, statues. Statues. You know what happened with Mujib? So similarly, it is being removed. I also saw another picture of Dhaka University where the dean of social science, whom I know, it seems that when he was the dean, he never used to allow this Quran thing in Dhaka University. I really do not know since when this Quran thing has started in Dhaka University. When I was there, I didn't see that. So maybe progressively it has started. So he's sitting in the chair, and there is this one Maulavi has come. There is Quran recitation. People have put it in the social media saying that, look, the person who did not allow recitation of Quran is now forced to do this, and this was done prior to his resignation. So I see a lot of Islamist footprint in the aftermath. But it's complete denial of what has happened in Bangladesh in terms of the Hindu killing. Some of the people tell me that they were army leaguers. So what? Even if they're so, in a sense, if you're replicating what Sheikh Hasina did, then how come it is a second liberation? Exactly the same reprisal attack. Again, somebody who speaks against you are beating them up. You're beating up the Army League student organization, which Hasina did. She bashed up both, mostly the BNP. In fact, ma'am, it could be a reason, like in Rajshahi region, if you remember 2015, 2016, people told me many of the Jamaat cadres joined the Army League. And she was very liberal towards that. So I always thought that it is they will eat up from inside. You don't have to. Jamaat is a very, very intelligent way of operating. And like, for example, the entire corruption and the militancy which happened, very little footprint of Jamaat you saw. You rather saw Dulu, who may have just recently sacked. Those Amirul Islam and others who were involved in what was happening in terms of the militancy. So what Hasina did, I think Hasina's probably mistake was, while he went blindly against the BNP, he left out Jamaat in many senses. Yes, after hanging all the topmost leader involved in the crime against humanity in 1971. Like, for example, I'll just give an example and then I will end. In November 21st last year, when BNP was supposed to go ahead with its rally in Dhaka. The rally was disrupted. There was a lot of violence. Violence also spread. There was some attack on the High Court building and all. But Jamaat, without any permission, held a rally in Dhaka. How is it possible? So, in a sense, the government was because Jamaat at that point of time, when I was in Dhaka in November last year, I met the Jamaat Amir and all. That point of time, they had not decided whether they should go for election or not. And government was trying its best to get them into election. Probably somebody else, as you said, probably Pakistan or somebody else prevailed on them, telling them not to participate in election. When the election symbol could have been a problem in 2018, latched on to the BNP election symbol. So this time, as a registered political party, I really do not know which election symbol they could have fought. So therefore, there are many questions now rather than being reserved. As I said, Yunus said vital reforms. Now, for example, many of the foreign service people have been, asked to come back to Dhaka. There is, I think, 429 or 493. The council members have been asked to resign. The Supreme Court Chief Justice and 5 judges have resigned. Many of the vice chancellors of many of the universities resigned. So, in a sense, when you make such kind of resignation, either you have to think who is going to replace them. without thinking who is going to replace them. If you do this kind of whole scale resignation, I think it will lead to more uncertainty, and things are not becoming very, very clear in Bangladesh. But I think in next 15 to 20 days, many things will, peers will fall apart. I really do not know, because you have people, a kind of conglomeration from anybody and everybody. You really do not know whether they will be able to pull together, unless until the army says that better you stick together, or the army is waiting, thinking that when these guys will fail to to deliver, that will provide a legitimacy for the army to come in or have its own choice of the advisor. Because when this particular thing happened on 5th of August, it would have been impossible for the army to have a direct takeover as it did in 2007. So I'll end here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. A number of issues have been raised. Clearly, not an spontaneous revolution as has been projected, very much premeditated, and the role and the footprint of Jamaat and the radical Islamic elements is very, very obvious. What is not very clear today is to how Americans would have worked very closely with these Jamaat elements. But of course, only the time will tell. Jamaat continues to have very prominent role in the governance. And I think people who are ideologically opposed to Jamaat are being asked to resign. What is not very clear at this stage, how strong is the role of the army? What is the army chief's clout and control? What kind of control is he able to exercise? What appears to be quite clear is that Muhammad Yunus is very weak-kneed. He's not really in command completely. So I think, as Smruti said, only time will tell. We are running short of time. So can I open the discussion for 10 minutes for anyone who wishes to take the floor? Very briefly, sir. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I am in regular touch with Bangladeshi Hindus, Muslims, and that Jamaat, that is who speak English, who now have learned to speak Bengali. They are in direct touch with our Deoband and Pakistani Deoband. And all the help came from there. And it was going on for 6 months. Our government cautioned the government, but she, as the admin madam has just said. So she didn't listen to it, saying like our law agent Mr. Paul had cautioned Mujibur Rahman that you will be killed by your own people. He didn't believe and ultimately got. But this time, it was made clear that if he dies, then the army will enter. So she was allowed a safe exit. As far as that Nobel laureate is concerned, he's an American person. He has come to have a gala time, enjoying good things.
Okay.
Sawal,
Somebody else?
two
Up,
questions. Two questions. See, without army support, because अगर जमात इस्लामी या स्टूडेंट मूवमेंट उसको ड्राइव करता तो उसके बाद रिजीम चेंज होने के बाद चीजें नॉर्मल हो गई होती, which is not. I mean, still it is in disturb and they are not, as you rightly said, they are not in control. So the matter where we should put into is the real person who has the Americans, of course, they are. And one of my friend, what he briefed that CIA has interest and they have given MI6 to Bangladesh against China. But you said the Chinese have not respected when she visited. So there are three angles. One is the American angle, one is the Chinese angle, and one is the domestic angle. And of course, RAW was pressurizing, as per the CIA, what says that too much interference, and last 15 years we have not allowed the free and fair elections. That is the charge of American people, and I'm telling you what their perspective is. So point remains that army is with Jamaat-e-Islami, army is with the Americans, or army is silently was with some other forces. I hope not with Chinese, but ultimately she had to, and they have also given a free exit without the military plane has landed. So military has certainly told to the Prime Minister that we cannot secure you. So please, wherever you want, we can safely. वो बताया होगा कि आपके पिताजी गए थे. Now you can be saved. So she had no other option, but the military chief comes and sets you. Well, basically, the investigating part of this is because the army is. It cannot be possible. The prime minister of a country has to flew from this, and it is not a coup. It is a coup shown as it is not a coup, not a public movement. What you said, it is not a revolution. It is not, and still it is going on. So that picture still has to emerge. Who are the real, and that is what we should discuss. Who can be the real, factors in this whole process. That's what I understand. Yeah.
Some people have joined us online, and I've received a request. Shri Gopal, Professor Gopal Arora ji, he's our
I
secretary.
would also like
And,
to have my time.
No, Professor Gopal Arora, please.
A brief question to Ambassador Sikri. There's a lot of things in the social media, and even the Brits editor, Salahuddin, has also, alleged that one of our Indian politicians actually met Tariq Rahman, the son of Khalida Jia, in London. And the allegation is that he was, in the know of the things, if I have to say it very mildly. If you have any comment on that, madam.
Yeah.
Okay, just one more. Shri R.D. Gupta ji, last question from the floor. And I think please be very, very brief for the paucity of time. Thank you. R.D. Gupta ji.
I never ask questions. I am just to participate through my observations. My observation number one is that in India, the person who spoke first, he is not probably aware that it is very, very serious matter for whole of the India, and in all states, massive processions are being held on roads. That is number one. Number two is that ARSP, it is good that we are discussing. It is good that we have heard from Mrs. Sikri about Bangladesh. But our newspapers, our televisions, and particularly those who have gone there in Bangladesh and showing you the real pictures, well, you see, the real theme is that it is a coup, and the intention was to oust the Hindus and to give their house, their jameen, their jadat to those who have come from erstwhile Burma. You see, those Muslim people who have come from Myanmar, whatsoever name they are called, they are to be housed. This is the latest. Number two, this Mr. Yunus, who has got the Nobel Prize for peace.
Number two.
This is this is point number two. No. Why there is a problem when I speak? The most disturbed person is our president. He will say
Please,
number two.
you have exactly half a minute, and after that, I'll have to turn it over to
you
the
never give
speakers.
any time to the people who participate. You keep on speaking.
Please,
Time
आधे minute के लिए हमारा time खत्म हो रहा है.
you have finished the
Yeah,
ARS.
all right.
Such a useless president I have got. You
Switch
don't
it off,
get
please.
people to participate.
इसको बंद कर दीजिए.
Mr.
इसको
Gupta,
बंद कर
please
दीजिए.
not say that.
So I'll just take a minute, sir, if you permit.
उनको mute कर दीजिए.
So, very, very informative and provoking talk by Ambassador Sikri, as also by Professor Pattanaik. Just 2-3 points or 2-3 queries I wanted to make. One is, was it a popular uprising as far as whatever has happened in Bangladesh? And we surround Bangladesh from every side, even like from seaside also. Predominantly, Indian presence is there. We stay heavily invested in Bangladesh. we were so close to the government, which just went away. So whether we were not able to see it happening, whether we anticipated that it is coming, the government may fall, as people are talking in terms of US was sort of aware or had used, or Chinese government had used about it. And if so, whether we could have prevented it in any way or supported the existing government in any way. I know because this government was there for 15 years. So all institutions were sort of like in tune with the government, if not in control of the government, whether it was judiciary or armed forces. I came to know that army chief was appointed only a few days back by this government. So the prime minister must be knowing him well. And I'm worried on another aspect that India's neighborhood, whether it is Maldives or Nepal, now Bangladesh, then Sri Lanka, Pakistan and China, we already had problems. Then Bhutan is a very a small state, very close to India. So how do we see it happening? Because we see that Indo-Pacific or Indian Ocean is India's backyard. And we matter here. We are the most important country, most important power in this region. So how are we going about it? Why it is happening, and whether it was beyond our control, or despite our best efforts, we couldn't have stopped it or changed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador Sikri,
Yeah.
you can respond to
Yeah, okay.
whichever comment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all the questions. I thank Smriti for her very enlightening views as well. Let me tell you that first of all, the question about Tariq Rahman and the BNP. It is true. It is true that the BNP was fully involved in this whole thing, and their workers and Jamaat were together. Of course, there's a rumor, as mentioned by this Blitz Salahuddin Chaudhry, that actually Rahul Gandhi is supposed to have met Tariq Rahman in London around the time of his. So that is another question altogether. But I must tell you that right now, what is happening in Bangladesh, that the Jamaat-e-Islami is asserting itself even against the BNP. So actually, right now, although BNP is making these big noises, I saw Moin Khan's interview also in the Indian Express, saying that we are going to do this, we're going to have elections, etc. But they are being marginalized. Tariq Rahman is not being allowed to come back. Actually, of course, Khalida Zia has got her passport and she's been sent abroad for treatment, but they're not letting not letting Tariq Rahman come back. Even Yunus does not want him to come back. And Jamaat-e-Islami doesn't want him to come back because they think that then he will become, all his supporters will go to him and leadership will go to him. So there is an internecine fight among these people also. So that we have to see. It's not that they're not presenting a united front so far. I mean, maybe somebody will come and exert themselves, but right now it's not united. They are divided. And BNP in the beginning said, oh, we'll have elections in 90 days. Now they're talking of 3 years. Instead of 3 months, they're saying 3 years for elections. And BNP saying, yes, we'll give them some time. So they are in a weak position. They're not able to drive the whole. The role of the army is very important. I see this army chief being changed very soon. I don't think he's going to last very long. He has been appointed by Sheikh Hasina. He will not last. He is there just as an interim. And in fact, the name being mentioned is in fact another Jamaat-e-Islami. There is, as you know, the person, his name is Ghulam Azam. He was the Amir of Jamaat-e-Islami during 1971. So he was the key person who worked with Pakistan to spread the genocide, to kill people, to organize a Radakat, where all the Bahinis they organized. His son is now a very senior general in the army. In fact, it is said that, this is all behind the scenes. It is said that Sheikh Hasina actually was worried that he's so senior. But see the foresight, they got the son to join the army right from there at that time. And Sheikh Hasina was worried because his credentials were in that way impeccable. He might well become chief of army staff under her rule because he was right getting up there. So then I think he was sidelined somewhere, but now he's back. He's not yet back as chief of army staff, but I see him coming back in a he's calling the shots. So it is Jamaat-e-Islami through and through. It is, BNP, they're all side players. So the army will also be now, the Islamization of the Bangladesh army has been going on for years. As Smriti also said that, the people were recruited between 2001 and 6, the pro-Jamatis were recruited. They are also now 20-year service people, they're very senior. But the Islamization is visible. It's absolutely visible. It's one of the most shocking things about the Bangladesh army, but it's there. And once they show the true colors about so then we know that that's what is going to happen. So this is in fact a very worrisome part. And Jamaat-e-Islami USA, their relations are very old. I must tell you that I'm talking about the time when I was there 15 years ago, and even before that. So much so that at that time there used to be a person from the Jamaat working in the American embassy. And everybody, and Jamaatis used to go to meet the State Department, go to Washington. They have spent a lot of money on hiring lobbyists in America. They know how to play the system. So they have hired lobbyists. They've got people speaking on their behalf right through. And when I was there, every 3 months there would be a meeting in State Department with the Jamaatis, planning what you're going to do, what's going to be the future, and all that. So we don't have to worry. The US role, where their soft lines are, it is very well known. So they are supporting Jamaat-e-Islami through and through. They've done it for more than 20 years. It's not anything new at all. But whether they would think that Jamaat-e-Islami would not be able to establish its control so quickly, I think this must have come or must be a continuing surprise to them, because they think that the Jamaat-e-Islami, once they are in power, they just crack the whip and everybody falls in line. But Bangladesh is too rambunctious, it's too volatile to control just like that. And the Jamaat-e-Islami never wants elections because actually nobody votes for them. Their vote share has always been very low. Hardly ever has it crossed 10%. So people don't vote for them. They take money from them. They're very religious. So everybody will go to madrasas and listen to them, but they won't vote for them because they want a secular government. And the feeling of being secular is very important for Bangladesh. They think it's a kind of a badge they love to wear. So now when Indian media is reporting so much about Hindus being killed, they're very upset with that. They're saying, oh my God, India is being anti-Bangladesh, because you're not supposed to touch this issue of secularism. You're supposed to always maintain, oh yes, Bangladesh is very secular. Now it's coming out in the open. And the first attack we saw in Bangladesh, these were not students, but students in genuine students who are today in Dhaka University. They are patriotic people. They love the revolution. They love Sheikh Mujib. They talk about endlessly about liberation war, and they want values of liberation war. But on 5th of August, when she left, the first statues brought down were Sheikh Mujib. People were urinating on the statues of Sheikh Mujib. Can you believe it? Rabindranath Tagore, who is composer of the national anthem, his statue was beheaded. And the head was lying on the ground, like a discarded. Now they're going to change the national anthem, I think. But Amar Sonal Bangla is their national anthem. It's a poem composed, and Rabindranath Tagore is the only man in the world to have composed national anthem for 2 countries, India and Bangladesh. And now they're trying to forget that. Wherever Sheikh Mujib was named, they're crossing it out. Now they're trying to go back on that. No. So just the first anger. No, it was a considered plan by Jamaat-e-Islami. First, to destroy the values of liberation war. Tell people liberation war is nothing. Yunus himself has said 25 times, second liberation, second independence. What do you mean? Liberation from the first liberation? It means you're denying the liberation of values of the first war. So you're saying no secularism, the 4 pillars of the first constitution of Bangladesh: democracy, secularism, nationalism, and socialism, or social justice, or whatever. Do you mean you're saying forget about all this? So this is what they're saying now. Today the demand has come for Sharia law. So I think we should be very clear as who the forces are that are actually in this situation, And now the question comes as to what do we do next? I think India has to be very careful about what is there. I think the first step that India has done correctly is to close the borders. I think after 1 month, for 1 month, borders were closed totally. Now they say, as of today or yesterday, the freight trains that carry these containers with the cargo, they are going to be starting, because obviously, I told you, the exporters, the garments people, they have demands and orders from USA and other countries. They want to start the work. So, but we have not let a single person come across. We saw 600 people at one border, 700 people, but we said no. And I think this has given courage to the Hindus, because the Hindus got together and demonstrated in Bangladesh. It was quite unique. I've never seen this happening before. I think last Saturday it was, not this Saturday, but the previous one. They were there in Shahbag Square, which is a very famous place, just like our Shaheen Bagh, there's the Shahbag Square there. And they demonstrated and said, no, we are here. We are citizens. This is our country. We're going to stay. So this, I think, would have been a big shock to the Jamatis, because here the Hindus are not calm down, not crying, they're not going away, they're not leaving their property. People are getting calls, those whose properties have been burnt. They're getting telephone calls. I know people are getting such calls. They've told me, they've been told, Acha, you have left your house here. Here's the money, 2 lakhs, and go. Don't come back again. That kind of treating it like enemy property. They're treating it like Western property. So it's a big plan to take away all their lands. And in fact, even under Awami League, the attack was on the Hindus who own land. They are the ones they want them to give up the land and give it to others. Fight for land is very big. So India has to work very hard in this. First of all, to stick to our values. We have to talk to the people. But if they want to have trade, if they want to have things, then they must understand what India's red lines are. Our security red lines they must meet. No terrorism, no support for Pakistani terrorists. When I was in Bangladesh, every single terrorist attack in India had a Bangladeshi footprint. Because Khalida Zia was allowing Pakistani to conduct their attacks on Bangladeshi soil. So this has to be very clear. Our security interests are paramount. And after that, yes, you can have trade, you can have, coming and going, the visas will start again, all that will happen. So, but security guarantees, I think we have to take from them. And I think we have to do more to combat this huge anti-Indian campaign. There is such a bitter, nasty anti-Indian campaign. And it's not linked directly to Sheikh Hasina. They're just using her as an excuse, as though, because you're pro Sheikh Hasina, so you're anti-Bangladesh. That is all. We have so many students from Bangladesh studying here. Hindi is very popular. You won't believe our Hindi classes in Bangladesh, cultural center, are so popular. People come, they want to come for the Hindi conference in India. So it's not that there's a campaign. We have to counter that campaign. We have to be very careful of this, and we have to counter it in a very friendly way. This has to be our effort. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Ms. Smruti?
Very quickly, on the Jamaat Islami lobbies in United States is very, very strong.
Yeah.
And in fact, always whenever they say that, when the American used to say that moderate Islamic party, I always used to say moderate compared to JMB.
Yeah.
Then moderate, yes. So in a sense, absolutely party cannot be moderate or something unless until you make a comparison with someone. And the Jamaat has exploited, as you said, Abdullah Al, I know him personally. He in fact was doing a lot of other social work like the Jamaat they do after he was sacked from the army. So he has been released along with the businessman who was hanged for the war crime. I'm forgetting his name. Hissa. He also has been freed from that Ainagar there. And army's Islamization, in fact, I see more middle class Islamization in Bangladesh than the lower class Islamization. Lower class, you see, at least if you go to Chittagong and all. But in the middle class, it's Islamization in a sense. When I say use the word Islamization, I'm saying in the sense visible adherence to how you should look in terms of most of the army officers you meet, they cover their head very fashionably. That's a different issue. And there is this dars, which, the Islamic classes, which happens after 2 o'clock, like it also used to happen in Pakistan. So they also have the same kind of thing. And the last point is that I'm still having a hypothesis of the role of Hizbut Tahrir. Hizbut Tahrir. They are urban-based, who wear suit and tie and have a very good hold over the universities, including the private universities. They were banned in 2007, but I have heard they have been operating from the mosque and all. They have been circulating leaflets. Some of the time I have tried to get hold of those leaflets. Speaking of exit of Hasina, Khilafat and those kind of things. When I spoke to Jamaat, asking them that what kind of threat they perceive from this Hizbut Tahrir group. So their response was that, well, all of us are working on the way of Islam. So they were not politically threatening because Jamaat has its own network, the most money network among the political parties. The only problem is that challenge is that the BNP, is finished, almost finished. So therefore, they have to gather and their cadres and everybody have left them, so it becomes slightly difficult for them. As ma'am is saying, it's now advantage Jamaat. So let's see how long that is going to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We come to the last part of the program. May I request our Secretary General Shyam Parande ji to please sum up and propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta ji. We listened to Ambassador Veena Sikri and Dr. Smruti ji Pattanaik. And both were very candid. As a matter of fact, there's hardly anything to sum up. But my first impression, because we had been all the time listening or reading or seeing the screen, what we listened was on the fringe of propaganda only. What happened or what we listened, we never had an opportunity to read, or understand through the media. So I really appreciate and thank both of you from my side. Anarchy or chaos, the name is Bangladesh. And this is going to be something we are going to witness in next couple of months, as I see. People were happy to see Hindus of Bangladesh getting organized for peaceful agitation and all that. And my connects over there tell me that the youth who tried to lead these protests were picked up next night from their houses by the army. Because what we see on the screen is police in Dhaka, but inside whole of Bangladesh, it's army which is in control. Police have no role at all. It's still the army. Therefore, yesterday night I talked to some of my contacts. So that's the situation on the ground. And along the border, close to Chicken Neck, like the Rangpur district, Hindus were being pushed out of their houses. They should migrate so that that small part of land that connects Assam and the northeast states to Bharat should be cut off. So that's the longer vision that Jamaat has in their minds. The struggle is between the Bangladeshi Hindus, Bengali speaking Hindus, and the Urdu speaking Bangladeshis. And that is going to, if that works well, then there will be riots and fights and everything. Hopefully it should not happen, but in course of time, all this is expected. And lastly, my comment is wherever America intervenes, it's eternal chaos, whether it's Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, or anywhere. That need not happen. I pray the divinity in our neighborhood. Dhanyavad, and I really thank Ambassador Veena Sikri ji and India is not silent. India had been working over there, but things are not in anybody's control, as Ambassador Sikri ji said. But it's nobody's control now. And I mean, yeah. And allow the government of Bharat to act and support that. So, and yeah, that's because of Bharat. I know. But the industry, the economy, from the rickshawala's economy to an industrialized country, it's Bharat's contribution to Bangladesh. And that everybody knows. We are concluding. Well, we'll talk again sometime. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speakers and everybody to be here with us. Have a cup of tea with us. Thank you very much.